It's story of girl and boy who loved but 10th grade. As I sat there in English class, I stared at the girl next to me. She was my best friend. I stared at her long, silky hair and wished she was mine. But she didn't notice me like that, and I knew it. After class, she walked up to me and asked me for the notes. I handed them to her. She thanked me and gave a kiss on my cheek. All I wanted to do is to tell her how I feel about her. I love her and wanted to tell her that I want her to be mine, but I was too shy to tell her. 11th grade. The phone rang. On the other end, it was her. She was in tears, mumbling on and on about how her love had broke her heart. She asked me to come over because she didn't want to be alone, so I did. As I sat next to her on the sofa, I stared at her soft eyes, wishing she was mine. After 2 hours, 1 Drew Barrymore movie and 3 bags of chips, she decided to go home. She thanked me and gave a kiss on my cheek. All I wanted to do is to tell her how I feel about her. I love her and wanted to tell her that I want her to be mine, but I was too shy to tell her. Senior year. One fine day she walked to my locker. My date is sick, she said. He's not gonna go. Well, I didn't have a date, and in 7th grade, we made a promise that if neither of us had dates, we would go together just as best friends. So we did. That night, after everything was over, I was standing at her front doorstep. I stared at her as she smiled at me and stared at me with her crystal eyes. She thanked me and gave a kiss on my cheek. All I wanted to do is to tell her how I feel about her. I love her and wanted to tell her that I want her to be mine, but I was too shy to tell her. Graduation. A day passed, then a week, then a month. Before I could blink, it was graduation day. I watched as her perfect body floated like an angel up on stage to get her diploma. I wanted her to be mine, but she didn't notice me like that, and I knew it. Before everyone went home, she came to me in her smock and hat and cried as I hugged her. She said, "You are my best friend," and gave a kiss on my cheek. All I wanted to do is to tell her how I feel about her. I love her and wanted to tell her that I want her to be mine, but I was too shy to tell her. Marriage. Now I sit in church. That girl is getting married now and drive off to her new life, married to another man. I wanted her to be mine, but she didn't see me like that, and I knew it. But before she drove away, she came to me and said, "You came." She thanked me and gave a kiss on my cheek. All I wanted to do is to tell her how I feel about her. I love her and wanted to tell her that I want her to be mine, but I was too shy to tell her. Death. Years passed. I looked down at the coffin of a girl who used to be my best friend. At the service, they read a diary entry she had wrote in her high school years. This is what it read. I stare at him wishing he was mine, but he doesn't notice me like that, and I know it. I want to tell him. I want him to know that I don't want to be just friends. I love him, but I'm just too shy, and I don't know why. I wish he would tell me he loved me. I wish I did too, I thought to myself, and I cried. Moral: if you love someone, tell them. Don't let your heart be broken by words left unspoken. Powerful advice from a dying man. I am only 24 years old, yet I have actually already chosen my last tie. It's the one that I will wear on my funeral a few months from now. It may not match my suit, but I think it's perfect for the occasion. The cancer diagnosis came too late to give me at least a tenuous hope for a long life, But I realized that the most important thing about death is to ensure that you leave this world a little better than it was before you existed with your contributions. The way I've lived my life so far, my existence, or more precisely the loss of it, will not matter because I have lived without doing anything impactful. You existed with your contributions. Before, there were so many things that occupied my mind. When I learned how much time I had left, however, it became clear which things are really important. So, I am writing to you for a selfish reason. I want to give meaning to my life by sharing with you what I have realized. You existed with your contributions. Don't waste your time on work that you don't enjoy. It is obvious that you cannot succeed in something that you don't like. Patience, passion and dedication come easily only when you love what you do. It's stupid to be afraid of others' opinions. Fear weakens and paralyzes you. If you let it, it can grow worse and worse every day until there is nothing left of you but a shell of yourself. Listen to your inner voice and go with it. Some people may call you crazy, but some may even think you're a legend. Take control of your life. Take full responsibility for the things that happen to you. Limit bad habits and try to lead a healthier life. Find a sport that makes you happy. Most of all, don't procrastinate. Let your life be shaped by decisions you made, not by the ones you didn't. Appreciate the people around you. Your friends and relatives will always be an infinite source of strength and love. That is why you shouldn't take them for granted. It is difficult for me to fully express my feelings about the importance of these simple realizations, but I hope that you will listen to someone who has experienced how valuable time is. I'm not upset because I understand that the last days of my life have become meaningful. I only regret that I will not be able to see a lot of cool stuff that should happen soon, like the creation of AI, or Elon Musk's next awesome project. I also hope that the war in Syria and Ukraine will end soon. We care so much about the health and integrity of our body that until death, we don't notice that the body is nothing more than a box, a parcel for delivering our personality, thoughts, beliefs and intentions to this world. If there is nothing in this box that can change the world, then it doesn't matter if it disappears. I believe that we all have potential, but it also takes a lot of courage to realize it. You can float through a life created by circumstances, missing day after day, hour after hour, or you can fight for what you believe in and write the great story of your life. I hope you will make the right choice. Leave a mark in this world. Have a meaningful life, whatever definition it has for you. Go towards it. The place we are leaving is a beautiful playground where everything is possible. Yet, we are not here forever. Our life is a short spark in this beautiful little planet that moves with incredible speed to the endless darkness of the unknown universe. So, enjoy your time here with passion. Make it interesting. Make it count. Owning mistakes. Simon was a curious boy. He was fond of reading adventure stories. He lived with his grandfather. One night, he stealthily entered the storeroom where his grandfather kept his priceless antiques. Simon knew his grandfather did not like anyone to touch his rare collections. Once inside the room, Simon stood on a chair. He lifted the box wherein his grandfather had kept many wristwatches bought from different countries he had visited. While getting down from the chair, Simon's elbow struck against the chair. The box slipped out of his hands and fell onto the floor. All the watch lay scattered all around. To his utter shock, he found the glass of his grandfather's favorite watch broken. Simon got frightened lest his grandfather should come to know about the broken glass. He started picking up the pieces of glass. Simon thought, "How will I tell my grandfather that his favorite watch had got broken? He will be angry with me. If I do not tell him, he will not come to know about it." Simon got nervous. His heart started beating faster. He put the broken watch back into the box and placed the box back on the shelf. Afterwards, he went to sleep. He tossed and turned in bed. He could not sleep in peace throughout the whole night. The next morning, Simon got up early. He gathered courage to go and admit his fault to his grandfather. Reaching his grandfather's bedroom, he told him everything. The grandfather looked thoughtful. He did not say anything to Simon. He went over to the storeroom. Simon kept standing with his head down. Having returned from the store, the grandfather said to Simon, "I felt very angry when you had broken my precious watch. Your grandmother gifted it to me on our first wedding anniversary. But you need not worry. Only the glass is broken. I shall have it replaced." Simon felt relieved. After some time, his grandfather went into kitchen and bought a glass of milk for him. While giving the milk to Simon, his grandfather said, "It was brave enough of you to tell me about the broken watch. You knew that I would scold you, did not you?" Simon said, "I was scared at first, but I dared not tell a lie. I should not have touched your things without your permission." Simon's grandfather further remarked, "When I was at your age, I also broke my mother's precious flower case. I was scared to own up my mistake, but when I went to confess, she said that she already knew about it. It is brave to admit your mistake. You may be scared of being scolded, but it is the only way for you to be free from guilt. My boyfriend, Chris, and I have been together for most of the last 3 years. We met when we were in 5th grade. From the very beginning, we've had something rare and special between us. In the childhood, we didn't care about it so much, but we wanted to spend time together. It's kind of hard to put into words because a lot of our friends don't understand the kind of relationship Chris and I have. It's based on caring, respect and trust. We feel so comfortable with each other, and even though we've been physically attracted to each other, we both decided not to rush into doing the things that a lot of kids our age are doing. We've been teased about never making out and only giving each other hugs, but we knew that when it was meant to happen, it would. We've talked about kissing and shared our thoughts about what it would be like, or what we thought it would be like. A couple of times when he was at my house, we actually planned for it to happen. But for one reason or another, it just didn't work out. Well, on Christmas, Chris came over to exchange gifts for Christmas. We always hang out in my room and watch movies. Our friends were on the floor and Chris and I were on my bed. He had his head on my lap. I had been thinking sensual about him all night. My heart was beating faster just thinking about it. We were playing cushion fight and started tickling fight afterwards. As he went on tickling me, my heart pounded faster and faster. I was losing control in myself and he was too. I just knew in my heart that it was the right time, and that's one of the things Chris has taught me, Tilda, to follow my heart. He suddenly leaned down and kissed me. When I felt his soft lips and hot tongue inside mine, I felt like melting on him. With closed eyes I saw the colors of rainbow and heard the song of love. He held me on my back and we kissed for a long time. With the kisses and hugs, I felt as if I was in heaven, with him inside me. I screamed with joy, "I love you." I swear at that moment, time just stopped for me. I'm not sure what I was expecting it to be like, but I knew when our lips touched that this had definitely been worth waiting for. I had never felt as close to anyone as I did at that moment. We kissed several more times that night, and with each one, I fell a little more in love. I am so blessed to have someone like Chris in my life, and I want him to know that our first kiss was the most precious gift I've ever received. Positive thinking. Sometimes life can be tough and it is easy to focus on the negative. However, those who are true to the positive and joys of life will see this story for what it really is, the true way we should view life and all its wonders. Read the story below and let it change your thinking about life. Two men are seriously ill and in the same hospital room. For an hour each day, the nurses would let the man closest to the room's only window sit up in order to help drain the fluid in his lungs. The other man in the room spent all his time flat on his back. As you can imagine, with little else to do, the men would talk for hours. They spoke about their families, homes, their lives in the military and where they had traveled. And each day, the man sitting away from the window longed for the hour when his roommate would be able to sit up and describe the details of the world outside their room. He would speak of children playing, of animals peacefully roaming, and of happy families playing in the water. Sadly, after months of this, the day arrived when the man closest to the window died in his sleep. After his body had been removed from the room and some time had passed, the other man asked if he could take the bed by the window. The nurses were happy to oblige him, and they made the switch. Once they were gone, the man slowly and painfully pulled himself up so he could take his first good look at the world outside the hospital room, the world whose description had brought him so much comfort. To his dismay, he found that the view was not as vibrant as he'd been told. In fact, the window faced a blank wall. Upset, the man called for the nurse and explained the situation. "Why would he lie to me?" he questioned the nurse. After thinking for a moment, the nurse looked at him and said, "Maybe he just wanted to encourage you." This should be a lesson to all of us that no matter our situation, we can do tremendous good for those around us by looking on the bright side of every situation. Even when we are faced with what seems like an impenetrable brick wall, we can bring so much happiness and joy to those around us if we find positive ways of looking at the world. The man in the story could just as easily have described the bland brick wall that stood outside the window, but instead of simply passing along his misery and grief, he shared whatever happiness he did have, doubling it. I am idealistic in my thoughts. I always maintained a safe distance to my boyfriend, and we didn't even kiss each other for a year since our relationship started. Now, it was his birthday, and he was waiting for his gift in his friend's house, where we planned to meet. I got the best wallet that I could afford and nicely wrapped it in a gift pack. After giving the gift, we sat talking about our friends, weather, college, and every simple thing that we could recollect. We were shy, or rather scared, to talk out of the box, as we were not aware how the other would feel. Strange. I knew with his gestures what he was longing for. I knew I had to make the first move, as he was scared that I would slap him or break the relationship if he did that first. So, this is the story of the first kiss. I asked him to close his eyes, as I couldn't even think of getting near him when his eyes were open, and kissed him gently on his eyes. Now, my macho man was stunned, excited, rather puzzled with the whole situation. He didn't even know how to react. He went out of the room telling me that he just forgot something. Now I was in his shoes. I thought I misunderstood him, and he was not ready for it. At that moment he walked in with a smile and said, "Thank you." I had a sigh of relief. He then asked me to close my eyes. I thought it was my turn. Yes, it was. The guys are smart. They utilize every move that we make. My boyfriend was not an exception. When I had closed my eyes, he softly kissed my lips. Guess what? The reaction was not the same. I had a hearty laugh. When I opened my eyes, I found him standing in attention, looking at me for my next move. Rather, he was standing like a scared bird that would fly the very moment I would cry and say, "How dare you?" We still cherish the first touch, the first kiss, the first candlelight dinner, and every sweet moment that we spent together for 5 long years. This moment will be most treasured till the last breath, as it was the first and unique kiss, with a feeling that will last forever. Once in morning came an elderly gentleman in hospital. He came to get his stitches removed from his thumb. A nurse came to attend him. Nurse checked his vitals and told him to wait, as it would be over an hour before doctor would be able to see him. While attending old man, nurse noticed that he seemed to be in hurry. So nurse told him to wait, but old man asked him to hurry if possible. Seeing this, nurse thought that she would evaluate his wounds and if possible would take care of it instead of making him wait. On examining, nurse found that wounds were healed. So nurse went to get supplies and came back to old man and started redressing his wound. As they started talking, nurse asked him, "Do you have any doctor's appointment, as you seem to be in hurry?" Old man replied, "No, I need to go to nursing home to eat breakfast with my wife." Nurse then asked about his wife and came to know that she had been living in nursing home for a while and was suffering from Alzheimer's disease. As nurse finished dressing, she said, "Would she worry if you get there a bit late?" Old man replied, "No." She no longer remembered who I am and had not recognized him in last 5 years. Nurse was surprised and said, "She doesn't recognize you, yet you go to have breakfast with her every morning. Why?" Old man smiled and replied, "She doesn't know me, but I still know who she is." Moral: for person in love, time, place or health nothing matter. What matters is love and care for his her partner despite facing any kind of difficulties.